The Kansas City Chiefs were back at practice again today, and finally, the pads went on. Shoulder pads for practice. That means the season is drawing ever closer. This is for training camp day 5, this video where we will be talking about notes from today's practice. But real quick, guys, a couple things that I need to put up front. I have had a couple people tell me that they are either mysteriously unsubscribed from the channel or that their notifications are no longer working for the channel. So if you want to make sure you're still subscribed and still have that bell notification lit up, that would maybe combat that. I'm not sure. I've had my troubles with YouTube over the past 100 days or so. But second, the Kansas City Chiefs did sign another player. They cut linebacker Luque Washington and signed an outside linebacker / defensive end prospect, a guy who was out of the 2022 draft class. And I will have a video for that tomorrow, probably in the morning. So I'm going to need a little bit of time to do some work on him. I don't know very much about him at all. So we're going to get into the notes for today's practice, starting with some notes from PJ Green. Much of the discussion for today's practice from the Twitter sphere has been around a few players and their notable playing times with the ones. So in order to not break up very much of that conversation, like I've done with Jeff Schwartz here, I will intersperse other tweets about these players and positions instead of breaking them up by the tweeter himself. Starting here, Chiefs running with Kingsley Suamataia at left tackle and Mike Caliendo at left guard to start today's practice. Jeff Schwartz kicks in, Kingsley getting the 1 reps for the first padded practice in Kansas City should tell you where that camp battle for left tackle stands right now. Look, Jeff Schwartz is going to know better than me, right? But I'm not sure because we have seen both of these players, Kingsley Suamataia and Wanya Morris, trading back and forth seemingly every other day for who's out there first. Now, Jeff Schwartz might be absolutely correct. Jeff Schwartz probably is way more correct than am I. That said, we will know more when tomorrow comes around if Wanya Morris is the guy who goes out there with the ones. If he is the guy that goes out there with the ones, it doesn't mean that Wanya Morris suddenly won the left tackle position back from Kingsley. It means they are simply doing their due diligence on both of these players. A couple of things that have become apparent through these practices. Number one, the offensive line right now is in a little bit of trouble, and the offense in general has been, well, the offense in general before today has been pretty good, but today the offense was missing connections all over the place, and that is not unusual. That is not unusual for the first day of pads. The defense is normally ahead of the offense through the first couple weeks of camp. That is true. That's always been true for whatever reason. A lot of offense's timing, etc. That's not necessarily the case for the offensive line. A little bit it is, right? You're going up against a defensive line where all of the players know what they're doing. All of the players have played together for years. So when they're asked to do any number of the things that they do, stunts, twists, etc. on the defense, they know where that other person is going to be pretty well. The offensive line on the left side of the line is working without left guard Joe Thuney and a new left tackle, whether that be Wanya Morris or Kingsley Suamataia. So the defense being ahead of the offense is not as concerning as necessarily it would seem, but the offensive line struggling more than the rest, or in league with the rest of the offense, is a little bit troubling. Interesting to see Mike Caliendo get the go at the left guard spot. I am hoping to see some 1 reps for Hunter Nourzad in the next couple of days. I think we're probably assuming at this point that JoeH Toney is not going to go for the first preseason game, and I would imagine not the second. Will we be creeping into regular season time without our starting left guard of JoeH Toney? If that is the case, if JoeH Toney does start missing regular season games, the way the Chiefs replace him is going to speak levels. The Kansas City Chiefs don't really have an experienced backup guard on the team. CJ Hansen, Hunter Nourzad, Mike Caliendo. Mike Caliendo has 1 year in the NFL and 1 year on the practice squad. The other two are rookies, which means the left side of the line, depending on what happens at left tackle, if either of these guys, Wanya Morris or Kingsley Suamataia, end up getting their reps under them, end up getting their feet under them. If they don't, that left side of the line is going to need help. Andy Reid, as we saw oftentimes, is remiss to leave players appended to the line to be an extra blocker, as opposed to letting them swing out and be a pressure release valve for Patrick Mahomes. Would you rather have Patrick Mahomes have more time or more targets? That will be the question. One of the other players getting a lot of time, Najee Johnson. This coming from PJ Green. Najee Johnson also running with the first team defense to start today. Now, I don't think that is necessarily surprising considering that Jalen Watson still finds himself on the sidelines. This means Trent McDuffie is in the slot. This means that Joshua Williams is technically the number one wide cornerback. So it is going to be, the Chiefs have been running with a lot of different looks, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. I think it's with a tweet from Ron Kopp. But the Chiefs have been using a lot of different looks as far as their defensive backs and their front seven. They love running defensive backs out there, and I don't think that's going to stop. If the Chiefs offense does end up being high-flying once again, that glut of defensive back talent is going to prove fortuitous for them because teams are going to have to throw the ball to try to keep up with the scoring. If the offense never gets it put together, that glut of defensive back talent, if they are refusing to run, the lack of defensive tackle talent will harm them, right? As opposed to the glut of defensive back talent helping them. And then another player getting a lot of attention for the reps they are receiving. Quote, might be time to start the Deneric Prince train again. Chiefs running back taking a bulk of the reps on the second long drive of the day, took a few carries and caught a wide ball in the flats in the red zone. Nick Jacobs added, Prince getting a noticeable amount of time with the ones in 9-on-7 and team. And he's looked good doing it. The preseason games last year were what held him up because of assignments, because of blocking duties and things like that. If he is more well-versed on those types of responsibilities heading into this preseason, there might be nothing to hold him back. The idea that you are seeing him with the first and second teams, this is simply vetting out whether or not he can be on the field. If you're seeing him more reps with the first team, it doesn't mean he's going to start. It might mean he's going to be the backup running back. If anyone needs to be alarmed at this, it is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. If Deneric Prince ends up showing out in the preseason, it's not his strength or his speed that are the questions, it's the assignment soundness, as is often the case with players his age, as is often the case with running backs coming out of college in the blocking game lately. But Deneric Prince has a very, very good profile as a receiver out of the backfield as well, and he makes catches. So seeing him with the first and second team reps is making sure time after time that he has the assignment sound, and it's going to put pressure, in my opinion, on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Something noteworthy, this is the final player to talk about as far as the reps are concerned. Something noteworthy, Kadarius Toney is getting plenty of repetitions with the projected starters. We've talked all off-season about how Kadarius Toney is too talented to simply cut. Kadarius Toney, the only way you have to really talk about it is movement skills, right? He's fast, right? He doesn't look Tyreek Hill fast. He can jump. He does not put that on display very often. He has a lot of tools that you would hope to see in a wide receiver, but his movement skills are simply next level. Now, here's the thing with last season. The guy has done this before. When he was a rookie, he had a massive game against the Cowboys, and that was kind of it. Then the next season, he was such a disappointment that he was a non-factor. When he came to Kansas City, there was a little spark in his spirit, and he ended up being an effective tool for the Kansas City Chiefs all the way through, setting a record for punt return yardage in a Super Bowl. Well, a record for the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. That's how I should say it, I guess. But the next season after that, all of a sudden, he's basically benched. He's basically cut-worthy. This would be when Kadarius Toney, the 9 lives of Kadarius Toney, this would be when he makes a comeback. He's on a long scale. Do you remember Fight Club? On a long enough timeline, the survival rate for everyone is 0. With Kadarius Toney, on a short enough timeline, the failure rate is 100. On a long enough timeline, the success rate seems to be about 50%. He's a guy that keeps just... It's a wild thing to see. Oftentimes, when you see someone this talented that washes out twice, they do not come back. They do not come back. Kadarius Toney, it looks like, is going to get a glow up one more time in the NFL. So that is interesting. In the first team period of the day, Team Blitz, Patrick Mahomes completed 1 pass to Hollywood Brown as a check down. The last play, a deep post to Xavier Worthy after Chris Jones tallied the sack, was deflected by Joshua Williams. Mahomes' other passes were overthrows. Chiefs defense dominated the whole blitz period. Several sacks from the first, second, and third teams. Not unusual for the first day of pads. Offense usually needs more time to sink than defense. These 2 tweets right here, as alluded to by PJ Green, would be alarming. Would be very alarming were this not the first padded practice. The difficult thing about a speed-predicated offense like the Kansas City Chiefs are gearing up to be, or at least as Patrick Mahomes is gearing the Kansas City Chiefs up to be, is that timing is an issue, is that being thrown off the routes can ruin an entire play, is that a strong pass rush or a weak pass blocking scheme can throw everything off. This is why, when you look back at those Patriots that were so very successful, a lot of it was predicated on a quick passing game. There are fewer things that can go wrong in a 2 seconds and the ball is out scenario than having your starting quarterback take a 9-yard drop and throw. So if Patrick Mahomes is determined, and we've got little bits of comments from the coaches that make it seem like maybe this isn't the overall plan, maybe this is sort of what Patrick Mahomes is gearing up for. We've gotten little hints of that along the way. And if that's going to be the case, it's going to have to start clicking, because you remember how utterly mortifying it was to watch Patrick Mahomes drop back last season and just know Marquez Valdes-Scantling's not going to catch this, Patrick. Don't throw this ball. If that ends up being the case with Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice, because they're all 20 yards downfield, it's going to be very difficult to watch. But I have faith that will not be the case. Another glow-up, speaking of glow-ups, that we are watching this offseason, Chiefs head coach Andy Reid said defensive end Felix Anudike-Uzomah is more comfortable with his get-off and more confident this go-round of camp. It was evident today he had a very good day. We are having reports that FAU is more and more successful. Now, obviously, it's training camp. If you are seeing one player be successful, probably you're seeing another player fail. Who would that player be? The left tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, whether that be Kingsley or Wanye. Maybe throw some Juwan in there as well. But this would be a welcome surprise for me. I have said that I think FAU's ceiling is basically Mike Danna. Not a bad player. Not a bad comp, right? Not what you would hope for the 32nd overall pick. That said, if FAU is able to be better than Mike Danna, a guy who was a starter for the Kansas City Chiefs most of last season, that would be an upgrade that is very, very welcome for this defense. Someone it basically like signing another free agent, because Felix Anudike-Uzomah contributed very little last season. Not saying that is a criticism, it's just the facts of the numbers. He had a success rate, I shouldn't say it that way. He impacted plays about as often per snap as did Mike Danna. A little bit better than Mike Danna. I don't think it was an entire snap. I think it was a fractional snap better, meaning how many snaps between a tackle, a pass deflection, a sack, a quarterback hit, etc. He was comparable to Mike Danna last season. Seeing him edge that up, seeing Felix Anudike-Uzomah become an actual starter in the absence of Omenihu would be massive for this team. Moving on, Ron Kopp throws out there, and this is an interesting one. Chiefs defense throwing 3-3 fronts at the offense. Leo as the fourth down rusher. I don't believe that what Ron Kopp is saying is first down, second down, third down, fourth down. I believe what he's saying is they've got three linebackers and defensive ends or defensive linemen, and then Leo Chenal is either the fourth linebacker or the fourth down lineman. And this is a revelation. This is the type of versatility that someone like Leo Chenal has promised since the moment he was drafted. Unfortunately, I had to take that video down, but Leo Chenal in college would line up in the A-gap and just make your center eat it. Leo Chenal would line up heads up on your guard and just destroy him. That's college. That's not the NFL. But what happens? Those guys who were playing in college become the guys who are playing in the NFL. I think we have every reason to believe that Leo Chenal, while he's not a Watt brother, will be their brother of another mother, will be the long-lost Watt. Leo Chenal proved in college that he can make that type of impact on a game. Losing Willie Gay might prove to be addition by subtraction, not because Willie Gay was a bad player or a pain in any way, but because it means Leo Chenal is getting on the field, and Leo Chenal is a very versatile player, a little worse in pass coverage than Willie Gay. He's not quite the athlete that is Willie Gay, but he's much stronger. He's much bigger. He's much more able to rush the passer and rush the passer from anywhere on the field. Seeing Leo Chenal line up along the line is going to make some Chiefs fans lose their mind this season. Moving on, pressure is throwing the Chiefs' offense out of whack. Mahomes is only connected on one quick throw to beat the blitz. A few have gone to his receivers, not even looking for the ball. This is the part that makes me relay this message. Not even looking for the ball. Probably, this is the type of thing that is going to get solved as the preseason hopefully goes on. The wide receivers knowing, hey, we have to always be ready. The thing that has to happen, the thing that will absolutely have to happen is hot routes. If the offensive line is going to be an impediment for this team, if that left tackle position never really gets solved, if JoeH Toney really is out for some meaningful portion of this season, the offense is going to have hot routes. Now, Hollywood Brown, NFL veteran. Probably he understands the concept. He will be able to implement what this means, and he will be able to be successful. Rashee Rice is only in his second season. Xavier Worthy is obviously a rookie. These two players are going to have a lot of fun trying to learn that, well, I was supposed to run a go route, but because the defensive line that I can barely see from across the defensive line in front of me, right? When you're the wide receiver, you're looking down the line, so you were seeing this guy when there are three defensive linemen being blocked by that first massive body, because they are showing a different alignment than we thought. I'm going to have to, instead of running a go route, run a slant. That's going to be difficult. That is going to be an adjustment. That is something that we have seen the Kansas City Chiefs, however, do so well so many times the past few seasons, is they will correct things as the season goes on. The Kansas City Chiefs team that we see in week 1 will not be the same team that we see in the final week. Now, I also want to use that talking point as a jumping off point for the video that I will make tomorrow. Something that the Kansas City Chiefs before today had 4 practices. They've cut 2 players. They cut Trey Dean. They cut Luquay Washington. I say that because Luquay Washington's replacement was at practice today. Meaning he was cut yesterday at the latest. I don't know if Luquay Washington was at practice yesterday. No one said that he wasn't. I would assume that so basically what I'm getting around to is this. The Kansas City Chiefs general manager Brett Veach, like I talked about, and I don't say that to pat myself on the back. It's just something that was wildly evident if the Kansas City Chiefs were going to be aggressive in going after the Super Bowl. They are making no qualms about cutting players at the snap of a finger. You've got 53 spots. You've got 90 guys in camp. You're going to know 75 through 90. Those guys. 1 through 53, 30 through 53, there's a little bit of jostling. 54 through whatever, through 65, kind of evident they're going to go up and down. 65, 75 through 90, very, very evident. Having a quick trigger finger with those players to bring in someone that might be better than them is only going to benefit this team, and you don't see it all that often. You don't see it all that often in camp. You've got 90 guys, right? You know who the 53 are more or less. Just let the other guys ride. It would be easy, wouldn't it? You have a roster that just won 2 consecutive Super Bowls. Let it ride, baby. You know for sure 1 through 45. 1 through 45. You've got another 45 guys there trying to make the last 9 spots. Is it really going to be all that difficult to tell which ones will and won't? Why don't you just let it ride? Let the guys rise to the top who will rise to the top. But that's not what Brett Veach is doing. Brett Veach is saying, you are the 90th man. We're not going to keep 90 men. Have a good day, son. That's what he's doing, and he's bringing someone else right in. So it's going to be interesting to see how far this goes. 50% of the time, through 4 days, they had cut 2 players. 50% of the time, someone is getting cut in this camp. Will today prove one more? That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel. So consider hitting that subscribe button to stick around for more. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.